Welcome to Hull and Estates and Succession Planning, a series of podcasts hosted by Ian Hull and Susanna Popovic-Montag. The podcast you are listening to will provide information and insights into estate planning in Canada. From the offices of Hull in Toronto, here are Ian and Susanna.
Hi, and welcome to Hull and Estates and Succession Planning. You're listening to and maybe watching our year-end podcast. Well, I am doing a solo podcast for the year-end because of time pressures for Susanna today. We couldn't get organized to do this together. So I wanted to do a podcast that focused on a year-end event that should be triggering in everyone's mind, and that is, what are we going to do in 2012 or for the next year with our estate plan? I think of it a lot like a smoke detector. You got to get a new battery put in every daylight savings times, they tell us. Well, at the year end, it's an opportunity. You're getting together with family, you're thinking about family. This is a time to refresh and reconsider whether or not your estate plan is current. So, will basics planning is what I want to just cover briefly today. Just to remind us of the kind of steps that we might want to consider. There are certain circumstances that are going to change and affect your will and your estate plan that may have occurred in 2011. For example, if your marriage relationship has changed in any way, if you've had different new children come into your world or grandchildren come into your world, easy events like that, they occur. You enjoy them or you don't enjoy them when the marriage breaks down, and they are moments in time where you get a chance to reconsider whether or not your estate plan is in place in a way that you're going to be comfortable with. The other element of this time of the year that I like to ask, I tell my clients to consider, is this is a time to consider maybe organizing an opportunity to talk to your family about your existing estate plan and maybe get some feedback. And for example, the other day I had a client come in to change their will, and they said, look, you know what? We got together, because some of my kids are down in the U.S., and we got together just before Christmas, and they asked us what we were doing for our, they knew that they were giving away to charities, and they asked if they could consider putting a different charity on the list of charitable recipients in their wills to their parents, because they were very involved with a new charity that they'd gotten involved with down in the U.S. So there's things like that can trigger the opportunity to consider it. Looking at insurance designations as well, making sure that your RIFs and your RRSPs and any education savings plans or your TFSA, the tax-free savings accounts, are all in order in terms of what's going to happen on your death and where they're going to fall in. It's an opportunity to look at your portfolio, and at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to make sure that should you pass away, the portfolio is going to land in the spot you want it to land, either directly to the beneficiaries outside of the estate or into the estate through the residue. The other thing that I always want to talk to my clients about is making sure that they've got not just a current will, but they've got a will. Statistically in Ontario, over half of adult Ontarians don't even bother to do a will. So again, at this time of the year, it might be a reminder, because I use the illustration of what do you do when you die without your will as a very easy benchmark to show people how difficult the estate can be to be administered when you don't have a will. It's not that it's an impossibility, and not that it's all going to go to the government, but there's a pecking order, an organizational order pursuant to legislation as to how your will be distributed, how your assets will be distributed if you don't have a will and it's out of your control. So I always like to remind my clients about that. The last thing I do is I say, look, start to think about whether or not your choice of executor is still the right choice. Whenever you arrange that, how old your will is, might be current, might be a couple of years old, might be 10 years old. Is the person you've chosen to be executor still the right person? And it really is an opportunity for you to look at your world, look at your assets, and look at where the family dynamics are at, and reconsider the opportunity of who you're going to appoint as the executor. So those are just some end of year considerations. Both on behalf of Susanna and I, we wish you the very best for the holiday season, and in 2012 we look forward to many more podcasts for that. Now at this point, I also just want to take a last moment to thank Amy Cochran, who has been our social media guru for the last 4 years here. She's moving on to bigger and better opportunities in the social media world, and we wish her all the success, but I want to thank her so much. So best of the season to everyone, and we'll be back on our podcasts in 2012.
You have been listening to Hull on Estate and Succession Planning by Ian Hull and Susanna Popovic-Montag. The podcast that you have been listening to has been provided as an information service. It is a summary of current issues in estates and estate planning. It is not legal advice, and you're reminded to always speak with a legal professional regarding your specific circumstance. To listen to other Hull and Hall podcasts or leave any questions or comments, please visit our website at hullestatemediation.com.